welcome. We are here with Trippin' with Tremont. This is one of our first episodes of ever, and I have joined with me my middle school and high school friend, great friend of mine, Zachary Novath.
Hello all.
So,
In Cali for the first time too, which is pretty dope.
yes, Zach came to visit visit in California, first time in Los Angeles, and him and his girlfriend Amber staying with us, and let's get to it. So, Zach, tell the audience a little bit about yourself. Just,
all right.
A little quick.
I'm about 32 years old and I still live with my mom, so I think that says enough. I don't think I need to say any more than that, if I'm being honest, right? I mean, I like playing video games a lot. I'd hope to, get my podcast going one of these days too. So to be honest, split souls that went different directions. But if we were together, we probably would have been doing something like this anyway, similar to what you're doing.
Big time. Like, hey, anytime you want to come out and we can rock out some episodes, and I'm down to come back home and rock out some episodes.
Yes, sir.
Too. So, I gotta ask, Trippin', what's been your first experience with mushrooms or just any? First off, okay, what's kind of been your history on just plant medicine? I'm calling it plant medicine.
Okay.
Marijuana, stuff like that. What's been kind of a little quick history of your thoughts on it?
Well, I like this question a
started.
lot because you know my thoughts and you know how this is about to go. I was super against it for the longest time. If you remember in high school, if anybody smoked weed, I'm like, that dude's a fucking idiot. You're smoking weed? You're dumb as shit. Or and that's the lowest form of anything you could do, right? Smoking weed is not a big deal. You can smoke weed and do whatever you want. You're not going to be dumb. But for me, I thought instantly if you smoke weed, you're an idiot. That was my first, thought. And then my first doing any sort of drugs, I did a bunch of synthetics with a friend, which was just a worse call. That was the first drugs I ever did. Terrible call. There was a 13-year-old kid there that ended up going somewhere in the ambulance. Looks 13 but wasn't 13. Let's go with that because that sounds terrible. They were. What am I even trying to say? This is hard, Tremont. Because
no, it was your first experience.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. This is the true first experience. I had never done any drugs at all.
Uh-huh.
I was in college. My best friend Emmons literally called off work to come down and do drugs with me because I told him my whole shit is fucked. I just don't care anymore. Let's just get high. It was something like that. Rox had broke up with me. I just failed a bunch of classes in college, and my whole life was falling apart. I just did not give a shit anymore.
Okay.
And so I was like, let's just do it, dude. Fuck it. And he came over. I got high, and I was just like, dude, this is amazing. Why haven't I been doing this for
oh my god.
I don't give a shit about any of those people anymore. Who the fuck is Roxanne?
So what was it?
It was that was just that.
It was just synthetic.
No,
stuff.
The first time it was the stuff they called Mad Hatter, which I'm sure was just that K2 that we was telling you about, or whatever you call it, salvia or something, right?
Salvia.
Yeah, and it was not good. It didn't last long. It would make you weird. People always got super sexual on it too. I remember, you know how I always crack jokes and stuff about you sucking someone's dick or whatever. The audience doesn't know yet, but I'll crack jokes about. We've been doing it this whole time in production. Yeah. Don't act like it's not a real thing.
Yes.
But it's so good. But I did that, and we were all so high. One of my friends was like, "No, if anybody's gonna suck your dick, let me." And I'm like, "This is what this is doing to us." I was like, we got to get off this right now. Let's just smoke weed.
So was it a combination of Molly and...
No, there was horny goat weed in it. They were using it as the base, so everybody was trying to fuck. All of us were trying to fuck each other somehow. And I was like, what is happening, guys? Can we just smoke weed? At that point, I was like, can't we just smoke weed?
Oh, man. That is hilarious. And that was your first time?
That was the first time ever. And there's a bunch of us there. They all would do other drugs, but I wasn't I was like, okay. They're like, we'll all do this with you.
Okay.
And then it was just super weird, and we all should, after that experience, I was like, we should have just sat around here smoking a bunch of weed, and they're like, absolutely. All of them were
learned.
Yeah, we learned. Let's never do that again. Experience. We almost just had 8 people just fucking on the floor in the middle of this room, so I was like, and when my friend's if anybody's sucking your dick, it's going to be me. It was there was a second where I didn't say no instantly. I was like, That does sound pretty. Wait a second. What's happening here?
He just thought about it for just a split second. Like, wait a minute. No, 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 no. Come back. Hold on. No, it's not what I want. No. Okay. Oh my god. Okay, so like after that, like, did you like experiment with any other like shrooms, acid, like?
So the first time I had ever seen something like that was with a friend, the same friend. This is great, Emmons, the same guy who got me high for the first time or whatever. He took me down to Rose Holman. You know Rose Holman? It's like a legitimate like druggy, like everybody there is. It's a smart school for like.
Oh shit! No,
for like,
I've never heard of this.
Yeah, Rose Holman is like a. You better be paying like an insane amount. It's like a private school. Okay. You better be paying an insane amount to go there. But they do a lot of like there's just a lot of smart kids there, so you would think that they're not doing fucked up shit. But I went to the drug frat house, and there was, if you were in the basement, they were doing heroin. If you were in the upstairs, they were doing like whatever. I had dudes making shit in like in a chemistry set in like one room. I was like, what's going on in here? And it was like a huge party they were having. In one of the rooms, it was just dark with like strobe lights and stuff on, and everybody was like playing beer pong with those cups that are neon colors so you could see them. But it's like, the room I was in, I was like, because we were going to do psychedelics, it was just the most basic ass room. I was like, now I'm bored. This is what psychedelics is.
So you had went there with the plan to do.
Yes, but then what happened was I had seen everybody doing it, and I was like, I kind of bitched out a little bit. So this is not the first time I did it, but the reason why I wanted to preface with this is because my friend got really fucked that night, and then I ended up having to take care of him. This is my first experience seeing anybody being that fucked on psychedelics. So I was like, oh, so I can see why somebody would want to do this. I can
in a controlled,
in an environment that made sense. And then so I then did it years later with Trinka, our mutual friend Trinka. We did C2E, which is like a fake.
Oh, so you
acid.
still didn't even do like?
No, I didn't do anything there. Today is that day. But
hey,
yeah, but anything that was natural has never been. It was a synthetic at that time. But the funniest part about that story is I went with these two guys who seemed so chill, right? They're like, I'm like, these guys have to not be fucked on drugs. These are the most normal guys here. And then I get in their car, we go to White Castle. 150 miles an hour going down the road. These guys were speeded out of their mind. This dude was going so fast. And then these were the coke heads. Yeah, they were the coke heads in the house. That's what I found out afterward. Dude was just driving his car so fucking fast. I was like, I just wanted to get some food because I didn't have a ride. My buddy drove. So they're like, we're going to White Castle. Anybody want something? I'm like, oh, I'll go along, And I'm like, all right, cool. And it was the most terrifying ride of my life. Like a little bit of an exaggeration, but they were doing probably 70 down to 40 when we were coming in, and I was like, dude, you need to slow down. And like a residential, not something like, where if you're doing 70 on like the highway or something where it's supposed to be 50, who the fuck cares? But there's like houses and shit and stop signs, and this dude's just going fast as shit. Now, terrifying for me. But that's when I knew it's probably do the psychedelics instead of the speed. Because those guys are gonna die faster. They're living a little bit hard.
They're
living too hard.
Difference of the synthetic shit from the kind of organic stuff. So this is first time.
Yeah. I'm feeling some type of way.
How are you feeling right now?
My motor skills are shit. I'll tell you that. Don't ask me to do something cool. It's not gonna happen.
What could I?
Apparently, I can still speak. That's pretty good.
You're speaking very well.
Yeah, it seems okay.
It's like your first interview.
It's almost like I never shut the fuck up. Right?
What? You? No. So how does your parents feel about like, I don't know, I guess.
Oh, that's just weird because I do live at my parents' house, right? Actually, for years, that's why I got that thought from, that if you do drugs, you're just a fucking idiot. But then I found out later that all my mom's brothers, and the ones that were more successful than the other ones, smoked weed at least. So like, I don't know why she was saying any of that shit. Her one brother did end up dying from a heroin overdose like later on. Like, I was a grown man when this happened, so it's not like it's something that she as she was telling me to not do drugs, he was not dead yet. So it's not like, oh, my brother died from drugs, you shouldn't do drugs. It was just my mom just telling me what the fuck to do because she can. And she didn't know what the fuck she was talking about. Right. Because my mom would tell me stories where she'd be like, I don't know, my old cutlass used to know how to get itself home. I'd be so drunk. And I'm like, Mom, and you're telling me not to get high? That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Like, how am I supposed to listen to what you're telling me when you're doing that stuff, you know? But now it's so crazy. They'll see me walk right by with I'll literally talk in the house. Kenny, I'm rolling a blunt. Do you want to smoke? Yes, and then I'll go roll it.
Just like that?
Yeah.
Like, Kitty, I am
Yes,
rolling a blunt.
it better be mechanical like that. And he knows that I'm getting in a rhythm.
I am serious.
This is happening. Yes, it was like
Not
that.
even inviting. Like,
No, it's not inviting.
Hey,
It's just
bro,
I don't even like him. That's the thing. But if you smoke by yourself, it's sad. That's a depressing thing. So it's like, hey, I am smoking in 5 minutes. Be out there so that I feel less bad about smoking by myself. Your presence isn't that great. That's not the thing I was bringing to it because Kenny sucks.
Presence.
We both know Kenny.
No.
Kenny sucks. You've always liked Kenny?
Yeah.
He's a fuckhead.
That's your brother.
Yeah, that is true. Your younger brother's a fuckhead no matter what.
I guess that is the thing. Like,
You
I
don't
haven't had
have
a younger
siblings,
brother.
right?
True.
Yeah, so how could you know how much every sibling has ever sucked? Which is how it always works.
Every sibling just always
If
sucks.
you're the oldest one, every younger sibling sucks, and that's just how it always is.
Just in comparison.
And for me, it's more like, I better not let any of these motherfuckers beat me at anything. I'm older than them.
Oh, I remember that. I remember you would get so mad. We'd be playing video games, and if, like, Kenny or Colin would ever, like, get close to me,
Yeah.
like, I'm like...
Yeah, and then what you didn't get to see was me then playing that game for like 10 hours later that night, so the next time I played, they would get rocked, because I was pissed if I would ever lose to those guys.
Oh, man.
So essentially, having younger brothers made me way more competitive than the average person because I just didn't want to lose to them. It sounds like elitist in the maximum amount because I'm like, this bitch is younger than me. He can't possibly ever be better than me, which is what old people always think, and that pisses me off. So the fact that I was thinking that is really funny.
Full circle.
Because that's my dad, right? My dad is like, you shouldn't be doing the reason why all this stuff's happening to you. It's like, Dad, you don't know shit. You worked at the mill for 30 years, and you did it because they gave you money. You don't even stand for no shit.
Do
like,
we
what are you
eventually
talking about?
just become our parents?
No, absolutely. I'll never become my
Man.
dad because he was a Trump supporter, so it's not going to happen.
Oof.
It can't happen for me. It can't happen for me. Americom.
American, we
It
just
just-
learned
you can't.
on the periodic table of elements, American.
When did they add it? You think somebody just fucking shot on it and it just Americom?
That's America.
I don't know what name
That's
that one's would be.
Captain America
Yeah.
probably was the one.
I have, yeah. You know what? Oh my God, that actually pisses me off now. I wish it was more like just what it sounds like. You know what I'm saying? Because now there's Captain America. Everybody's in all those movies now. I don't like any of those movies, so.
You don't like any other Marvel movies?
No, I don't watch like it. We talked about this too because you were like, "Oh, I love Spider-Man." I was like, "I always told you I thought Spider-Man was a pussy." And that's gonna make you mad because you love Spider-Man.
I mean, Spider-Man is cool. Like, why don't you?
He's 15 in the comics. He's a giant pussy. Like, that's his whole persona. He's having terrible time at school. He's like, oh, I don't know how to talk to girls. He's like a super pussy. For me, I need my superhero to be a legend.
Were you always great at talking to girls?
No, I don't even like talking to girls now. Like, I'm just saying, like, what I'm saying is he's a hero. To me, I want my hero to be a hero. Like, I didn't like the heroes
didn't
that
want any,
had
like,
problems.
extra-
They better be perfect is how I wanted to see it in
got
my
you.
eyes. So, for me, the very shallow and vapid superheroes were more the ones that weren't very deep. You just better be strong as fuck and badass, and that's for me.
So now who was your favorite?
They were like
the Hulk?
they were actually not even in Marvel or DC. I used to like Image Comics, which is where Spawn came from. And Spawn did have some bad stuff in his past and stuff, but even before that, like, he does have a crazy story and he's got problems and stuff, but he was a fucking mercenary in his life beforehand. So he didn't need superpowers to handle himself. And that's what I like. When somebody gets superpowers and beforehand they would still fuck you up. They didn't need the superpowers. They were hard first. And they're like, and now I got, like,
Now it's
Peter
superpowers
Parker
is even-
was soft as fuck and then got some powers. Let's be honest. He's like crying about girls in school and he's like, and now I'm a super spider. So you're like, okay, I guess.
Now I'm a badass.
It was supposed to pander to kids like that, right? Somebody who was feeling that in school, and I don't think that's the way I was feeling in school. I was very narcissistic in school. I thought everybody liked me and stuff. I was just walking around like, oh, people must like me.
Do you still walk around like that? I mean, like, kind of.
I do feel that people do like me, yes. I definitely have some narcissistic tendencies still, for sure.
Oh, wow. Have you ever thought about, like, I don't know, like, you ever went to a shrink?
Are we? I was about to say, are we doing it right now? Are you
I'm
morphing into
no, I'm
it?
like, look, have you ever been to a shrink?
I never have. I don't have insurance, so I can't talk to anybody. I can't do anything like that. But
Dang. Yo, you can get, Indiana.
well, I
like,
tried to get insurance this year, and then I just got nothing but scam calls over and over again, and I accidentally gave somebody who was not a real person trying to get me insurance my social security number. So I actually had to freeze all my accounts so I didn't get my shit stolen. And after that happened, I was pissed, and I was like, it should not be that hard for me to get insurance from the government without also getting scammed. I was literally getting 10 calls a morning, bro. I was like, how is this possible? From Scam Likely or Scam whatever. I'm like, this is insane. And it was right after I tried to get insurance.
Oh, God.
And I'm pretty sure what happens is I blocked that out of my mind because it makes me so mad. And I think the same thing happened 3 years ago. And then I just hadn't tried for 3 years. I do it again, and I'm like, now I remember.
Feeling some kind of way,
now
right?
I fucking remember.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh man.
And I just never get hurt like terribly, so it's like, and I fucking hate the doctor, so I'm not gonna go to the fucking doctor for funsies. I'm like, I feel bad
So
today. I'll just go to the doctor.
okay, do you think that possibly like psychedelics would be legal to a point where it would be able to help people with certain issues like this? Like depression, anxiety, shit like that. Like, do you think at some point psychedelics would be like?
I'm really thinking that.
Do you feel like marijuana is kind of helping?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Let me talk about my experience more, because this is the most I've ever had with any. Because even in even with the psychedelics I did before, I was so fucked that it couldn't help me do anything but just be fucked, right? But with weed, is like, for me, weed mellows out all of the stuff that I think is too aggressive. It takes my edges and rounds them out, because can be loud, I can be abrasive. I'm probably gonna say some shit that I should not say because I'm impulsive. I have these thoughts that pop into my head. To me, they're funny, and then I just say them, which. You know this for a fact, because we've been friends forever. I will say some shit that I should not fucking say. But to me, it is so funny. I'm going to say it, and I can't not say it. And my girlfriend actually falls to the worst. She has to deal with this to the worst, because there are things that you wouldn't say to your girlfriend just because you know that it's gonna offend them. But to me, it's funny, so I just still say it. And it's, I don't know how she's even still with me for this long, to be honest. That's how I knew she was a legend. I had to keep her. So I'm like, this is how it's gonna be. I can't be PC to save your feelings if humor is involved. That's gonna take number one for me.
I feel you. Hey, sometimes you find that the humor is the coping mechanism, and it's like, yo, I have to do this for me. I apologize. Just know it's a part of me, and it's how I'm healing.
You grew up in my home too.
Do
you remember? You were in my home. We blast each other left and right. We might as well be the fucking Osbournes. If you did anything wrong, somebody's on your ass instantly. So you better be okay with getting destroyed instantly, and then just being okay with it right afterward. Right. And nobody in the real world is like that. Like, if I came at you like, you're a fucking idiot, why did you do that? You're going to be like, Jesus Christ. But in my house, it's just like 2 seconds later, you're talking normally to that person again.
Yeah, I remember.
And that's
I'm
how
like,
it always is.
So
again, I offend people very easily. I literally I use the word bitch to mean female constantly, and not in a derogatory term. Like that, again, that's going to piss someone off. That's the type of thing I'm talking about. Yeah. Because in my house, we were swearing at like 5. My parents did not give a shit. That is not something they cared about. So words meant nothing to my family at all. So is something that would cut to someone like you. To me, it was just a surface thing, and they were just trying to let you know you fucked up. Don't do it again. And I'm like, okay,
I remember when
I'd
come over and be like, yo, Zach, y'all talking like harsh. I'm like,
yeah, I'm like, Mom, shut the fuck up. And you're like, oh my God.
You're like, what? You don't say that? No,
no, absolutely.
I'm black.
It wasn't even that. Even if you were by Jeremy, our other friends the same race as me, come over and be like, I can never say that to my mom. I'll be punched directly in the mouth. Jeremy's mom's white, even though he was Mexican. He never talked to his mom like that. Yeah. I've seen Jeremy's mom beat the shit out of his brother, so I knew he was scared. He called her a bitch, and then she just punched him right in the face. I was like, okay, well, don't mess with Jeremy's mom.
Oh, well.
My mom's a pushover.
So,
I thought her nickname was bitch.
Oh, my God. So, I got one more question to kind of wrap things up. So if you had your choice of like who you would ideally want to trip with, like anybody famous, living or dead or whatever, who would it be?
Can I give you living and dead? Like, it's a trip. I got two people with me.
Okay, yeah,
One's
for
living,
sure.
one's dead.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go with, just because, okay. Let's go with Betty White for the dead person, because just because.
Betty White.
Just because, could you imagine, like, if
How
she
much
was still,
shit she
imagine
has to
if,
say.
yeah, also imagine if she was just still alive right now because she had just died, doing, like, tripping with somebody who's like 100. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah,
because when she died, she's 100.
she's
So even if she's dead,
famous,
so let's assume she
like-
didn't die. That means I'm tripping with someone who's 100 and she's been through everything.
Holy
So anything
shit.
that she's gonna tell me is gonna be crazy right off the bat.
Right,
so
right.
pretty much any old person, but I went with the super old person. But I went with Betty White because she just died recently. But then somebody I'm more interested to probably trip with right now. You know what? I would probably trip with Jack Black, just because everybody is always. That's what everybody's told me. My nickname was Jack Black for the longest time. And it's like, I swear to God, I didn't even know about the guy, and we had the same mannerisms, the same thing for the longest time. And then when I was
Really?
introduced to him, I'm like, this
Oh,
is
you actually
exactly...
got introduced.
Kirk
to Jack.
showed me Tenacious D. I had no idea that
Oh,
I was a
introduced
caricature
him. Okay.
of Jack Black before
Oh,
I
big
ever
time.
knew that I was.
Oh,
so I was like,
used to call
oh.
you Jack Black all the time.
Yes, and that's
All
what I'm
the time.
saying. By that time, I had already known who Jack
Right.
Black was, but Kirk showed me Tenacious D in probably like 7th, maybe 8th grade, something like that.
Right.
But I was already doing all that shit since before that, you know? So I was like, wait a second, I'm literally just, me and this guy are like kindred spirits, like, just off the bat.
So Jack Black, if you're listening, we got we got a fan for you. All that. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, Zach, for coming on Tripping with Your Mind. It's been a goddamn pleasure. Thank you for coming and visiting. And I hope the rest of our time is going to continuously up level and be something you are able to take
Bring
home.
me back whenever, dude. I love
Yes.
it down here.
Yes,
so far,
appreciate you. Love you, brother. So.
But
Yeah, I don't know how this is gonna look, but whatever, we're doing it. All right, Tripping with Tremont out.